Pull left, protect. Pull right, drop. Run the deck. Hit the cut, protect. Bit of body English, and aces. Hey YouTube. So before any of this began, I got to have a good long think about what I'd most want to do if I got a channel like this. If I got to be in front of all of you, what is it that I'd most want to say? Yes, I want to teach you. Yes, I want to talk about the art and the craft and the history of magic and all of the things and people that have influenced it and influenced me. But in so many instances, I really want to introduce you to my friends. Because in general, that has been my experience of magic on social media, is getting to jam with people. Getting to sit down with, talk to, and learn from all of these incredibly talented people. Getting to hear their personal stories, and in so many instances, that's the more interesting part about them, is who they are and what they became over the course of time that had nothing to do with magic, that feeds into their art form. Now, a few of the people that I most want to introduce you to are hardcore card people like me. And a couple of them are at the table just like I am. But in order for you to fully understand the conversations that we're going to have, I need you guys to have a common context, a common vocabulary, so that way you can follow when they start to talk about some of the more advanced work. And I need to do that in a way that still protects the secrets that they've asked me to protect. All that being said, I don't really have the time or the capacity to give you guys a full-blown education in card magic here. And I don't think that you guys need a doctorate in how to mess with cards in order to talk with these people. But there are a few building blocks that I can give you guys that you can jump off from. You can build on top of solidly, so that way when you get to the more advanced work, you don't have to kill as many bad habits. If you ever see a deck of cards in play in a game and someone is asked to shuffle, you generally only see a couple of different shuffles. You might see an overhand shuffle. You might see a variation on that, except the orientation has changed. They hold it by the ends, or they hold it underneath and they rush after. You might see a riffle shuffle like this, either against the table or in the hands. But the one that I am most obsessed with is the tabled riffle shuffle, sometimes called the dovetail shuffle. And for me, this is the king. Now, my original intention was that I was going to start from scratch. I was going to assume that you don't know how to do a tabled riffle shuffle, and I was going to teach it to you from beginning to end. But as it turns out, the king has returned. 52 Cards just released a tutorial for the first time in a year, and it's on the tabled riffle shuffle, which is actually super convenient. So what I'm going to do is link it here and let you guys watch that if you don't know how to do a tabled riffle shuffle. And if you do, let's start there. So let's assume that you know what you're talking about with the tabled riffle shuffle, meaning that you can pretty evenly separate the packs from each other, you can lightly riffle them into each other without having to bow the cards, and you can square up the pack without much issue. Now it's time to ask some very important questions about what you do naturally with that shuffle. Because as you get into more advanced card work, like shuffle tracking or riffle stacking, it becomes very important to either kill or consciously control the habits that you've naturally developed. So, first question. Where does the top of the deck go when you start the shuffle? When you separate the packets, do you pull the top of the deck to the left or to the right? This is really important to note because everyone tends to have a favorite side, and it has less to do with a favorite hand than a favorite thumb. Generally, one thumb is better at cutting the deck at specific points than the other, and the only reason for that is that it tends to get more practice. But this is the first thing that you need to learn to consciously control, because as you get into the more advanced work, you're going to be switching sides. Now, the first time that you do it, it's going to feel like you're brushing your teeth with your opposite hand, and it's going to feel weird, but I promise you that feeling goes away, and eventually you'll learn to pull both sides evenly. Second question. When you separate the packets for the shuffle, are they even or uneven, just naturally? Does one side tend to pull more cards versus the other? This is something that you need to be aware of, and it's something that you need to practice your way out of. Both sides should be able to pull particular amounts because that's going to come up on the midterm. So the left side needs to be able to pull a small packet, an even packet, and a larger packet. And the right side needs to be able to do the exact same thing. And when you shuffle, it should be an even shuffle regardless of the amounts that are on either side. Third and final question about your shuffle. What happens to the top and the bottom cards when you're just naturally shuffling the cards? Easiest way to find out is to take the top and the bottom cards and turn them face up in a face down deck, and then just give it a natural shuffle. And you'll find out pretty quickly what happens as you're spreading through the cards. Do it a few times, over and over again, just to find out what's randomness and what's an actual habit of yours, because the habit is your first form of controlled shuffle. Does the top get shuffled in or stay on top? Does the bottom fall first or does it get shuffled in? Whatever the answer is, that is your first form of control, even if that control is to actually shuffle the cards. If you're lucky like me, the top and the bottom cards don't go anywhere. Because when I shuffle, the bottom card is the first one to drop, and the top card is the last one to fall. And when I square everything up, they didn't move. And that became my first controlled shuffle. Which leads us into the two shuffles that if I teach you these are the seeds of every other controlled shuffle that I know of. If you can master them on both sides, you'll be way ahead of the game when you get into advanced work. And it's not even that it's magic, it's just a conscious control over what falls first and what falls last. Now the first controlled shuffle that you're going to want to learn is to control both the top and the bottom of the deck at the same time. Meaning that when you shuffle them, they don't go anywhere. They don't actually get shuffled in. And the reason you want to practice it simultaneously is because it will give you the ability to do either one individually whenever you want, or do them both at the same time. It's 3 shuffles with 1 bit of practice, but you need to do both sides. Because once you pull to the opposite side and try to shuffle, you'll get a very clear feel for what it's like to fight your own habits. So to begin, just separate the packs about evenly. And for the pack that used to be the bottom of the deck, instead of trying to just riffle it down first, the secret to controlling the bottom of the deck is to just leave it there. You literally just pick up the cards and leave a few off the bottom before the shuffle begins, so that when you're shuffling, the bottom is already protected. And then to control the top of the deck, you just need to make sure that there are a few cards left over on the top side packet. And instead of riffling the last few cards, you can just let them all fall as one. And this helps even out your shuffle, so that way you're not riffling one side versus the other at any given time. They're just both riffling at about the same rhythm. And now you gotta switch sides. And this is why this is so hard, because now you're fighting every instinct that you just developed in the other shuffle. When you pull the top packet to the other side, now the thumb that was originally just getting to shuffle has to practice leaving a few cards on the table, which it didn't do in the previous one. And when you get to the top packet, your other thumb needs to hold back the top cards, when in the previous shuffle, it was the first one to drop all of its cards and go. And this is why it's so important to practice on both sides, because you learn to kill the favoritism that you have for one side versus the other. Now this last form of controlled shuffle that I want you to learn might seem innocuous, but I promise you it's important. Take the packets and separate them. And then shuffle the top stock completely into the bottom stock, such that the bottom stock contains all of the cards from the top stock. And the way you'll know that is if you lift up the packet that used to be the bottom stock, it should carry all of the top stock cards with it. And then you do the exact same thing on the opposite side, so that when you lift, no cards are left on the table. Everything is contained in the original bottom packet. The reason this shuffle is so important is because in many of the advanced forms of dead cutting, zero shuffling, and other controlled shuffles, you need to be able to protect the thing that you've cut to as well as a stock either on top or on bottom. And this is one of those tools that if you can do it on purpose, it eliminates a lot of the work. And that's it. Literally, those 3 questions and those 2 shuffles practiced on both sides are the half dozen things that will get you 80% of the way there on most of the shuffle stuff that I know about. Now, is it the advanced work? No, not yet. But what it will do is that once you get to the advanced stuff, now all you're having to do is make tiny adjustments to the few tools that you have here so that it's a lot more like turning a speedboat than a cruise ship, all because you were willing to make conscious decisions on the front end about what happens in your shuffle. Anyway, hope you guys found that useful. I realized that that wasn't chock full of mysterious secrets and it was basically about how to shuffle cards, but you'd be amazed how far you could go if you're willing to invest in just a few simple skills on the front end, and that's what these are. To 52 cards, welcome back, Your Highness. Thank you so much for letting me lean on your knowledge for this video. And to everyone who has subscribed since I last posted, welcome. I appreciate it. And I hope you find something useful here. To everyone who has liked and commented, you guys are incredible. I'm literally having so much fun because of your encouragement and your feedback. So keep it coming. Until next time, I'll see you guys soon.